Welcome again to Wonderful Plant Wednesday. I'm Sarah Babulis, Habitat Project Coordinator for the Partnership for the Delaware Estuary. And here on Wonderful Plant Wednesday, we talk about native plants that you can plant in your gardens to help support clean water, healthy habitats, and strong communities throughout the Delaware Estuary, which is something that's really important to us here at PDE. If you have any questions or comments while I talk about today's plant, feel free to leave them in the comments, and then I will answer them as I see them, or at the end when I'm done talking, or as I see them. And then also, if you're not viewing this live, you can put questions in the comments when you do see it, wherever you see it, and I will do my best to find them and answer them as well. So let's talk about today's plant. This is Monarda fistulosa, or also known as Wild Bergamot, or bee balm, lavender bee balm, different types of bee balm. It has many names. I generally go with Wild Bergamot, even though I don't even know if I'm saying bergamot correctly, but I like Monarda fistulosa. So Monarda is named after a botanist, Nicholas Monardes, from a long time ago, 1600s. He was one of the first guys to write a book about native plants of North America. He was European, but he wrote one of the first books, so that's why Linnaeus, who named a lot of things, decided to name this plant after him. Fistulosa refers to hollow, or like a tube, and that could come up from a few ways. The flowers themselves are little tubes, and then also on this one though, which I think that is on all bee balms, this one, the stems are also hollow. So I cut this stem off. Here's the plant, and so the stems are hollow as well, which is where it gets its Latin name there, fistulosa. It's called Wild Bergamot. They are in the mint family. They're related to mints. They smell very good. If you crush the stems, they smell good. And they're often used. We'll get into all the uses for this plant, which there are many. But bergamot, it's supposed to smell. There's a citrus fruit called bergamot that is native to like the Mediterranean or something, and it's named after that because it sort of smells like that. The bergamot citrus fruit is where we get the flavors for Earl Grey tea. That's how it's frequently known. So this one, I think people do frequently make teas out of this. It's a great tea plant, but it's not typically the one used in Earl Grey tea, if you've heard of bergamot being used in Earl Grey tea. So it kind of just smells like that, has the same tones as the citrus fruit. So that's still cool. And then bee balm is the name I like best. There are many bee balms out there. This is fistulosa. Another very common one around here is Monarda didyma, which is red, has red flowers. That one's also pretty popular, and they're generally called bee balms because they have a lot of medicinal purposes, and one was to help heal bee stings, hence bee balm, but they're also used for many other ailments, from Native Americans, or by the Europeans that came over. Very used on cuts, used on burns, used to heal digestion, but also in large quantities can cause poor digestion, so I have to be careful with that. And obviously, just fun facts about it. You can use it. I would use this one, wholeheartedly use it as a tea, but otherwise maybe be careful with it. But it does make a really nice tea, the tea leaves. It's also a great pollinator plant. I think while we're here, you've maybe even seen like 10 bees already on this thing. It's great for bees, butterflies, hummingbirds. Tons of different pollinators love it. There's a sweat bee that is really specific to this plant, that is named or Monarda species in general. But this is full of the bumblebees today. They really love it. It generally likes full sun. If you notice here, it's kind of in the shade. We're getting a little later in the day today, but this actually gets sun from like 2 directions throughout the day, which makes it stand up straight, even though it's in a little more shade. I have another one that is falling over a little bit because it's not in full sun all day. So be careful with that. Full sun is best. Any soil, really, soils, it likes more loamy soils with different, you know, not super sandy or anything like that, but it will tolerate a wide range of soils, so good for lots of different gardens. It does spread pretty easily. It gets pretty big and spreads pretty quickly. This spot here, I actually, like I said, I have another plant, and this spot just popped up from seed or something like that from that one. I didn't even plant this one here. So it does spread, but this seems to be a better spot for it than the other spot, so worked out. It's generally, it has a few insects that eat it, but not a ton, which is good, and generally mammals do not disturb it either because of that distasteful, like I said, in large quantities it can cause stomach problems, but in small quantities it can be helpful, so there's that. But because of that, the deer and rabbits and things don't really mess with it. There's thought to be maybe a bacteria in it that causes them to have poor digestion from their normal digestion, which is interesting. It does get this thing called powdery mildew, which a lot of plants get, and this one I can even see a little bit right here if you see on the leaves. It's a fungus, and it's known for that. This plant actually gets it less than other Monardas, and phloxes are also known for it as well, but this one is supposed to be slightly resistant. So that's good. So you just have to watch out for that. You're supposed to keep airflow around them and things like that, but honestly what I do is just plant a bunch of plants in front of it. So I have all these other plants around it, so you really don't even notice it's usually on the lower leaves where it gets the mildew, so if you just plant things in front of it, you kind of obscure all that. And even like this sticky, you know, lack of leaves it has at the bottom here, I kind of like. I think it looks kind of neat. It's kind of different. So even if you don't have anything to cover up, I think it's still kind of cool. Beautiful purple flowers. They're so pretty. They're all these little tubes. There's about 20 to 50 flowers per like flower bud head here, and the bees love them. Stick their little head in there. Oh, I said hummingbirds also come to it. Like I said, great for tea. It was also used when, you know, like I said, Native Americans use it forever for everything. They used it for tons and tons of ailments. And then when Europeans were mad about the tea, Boston Tea Party, they threw all the tea in the water, and they started using these native species instead for their tea because it was something that was available and they didn't have to pay Great Britain for it. So they started using Monarda species instead, which I'm sure they learned from the Native Americans. So yeah, so that's Monarda fistulosa. I think it's really fun. It gets pretty tall. This one's probably like 4 feet. I'm sitting down. So it's pretty tall. It stands out. I'm gonna back up a sec so you can see like the other things I kind of have around it there to kind of block that bottom part there. Alright, well that's it for Monarda fistulosa. Thanks for watching, everybody. I don't see any comments, but like I said, if you have any later, feel free to post them, and I will answer them as I can. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. There's a little bee.